Hey, you got a couple minutes for me to tell you a story? A friend of mine, great friend of mine, and actually a mutual friend of the person I'm fixing to interview, Brian Stevens, introduced me to this lady a few months back. It was one of the greatest experiences I've had so far in the mortgage business. To actually meet somebody who's been in a business as long as you have, that knows at least as much, if not more than you do, is something that's absolutely phenomenal. It's something that I actually strive for on a daily basis. So a friend of mine, Brian Stevens, introduced me to a lady by the name of Linda Hall in Phoenix, Arizona. Linda was going through some issues with the company she was with. It was another one of those typical stories that we hear all the time. They were selling one company to another company, and they couldn't figure out what the hell was going on and what they were doing. And of course, they would tell the employees absolutely nothing. So, you know who's a freaking awesome loan officer? Linda Hall. Linda Hall is a freaking awesome loan officer. This woman has been in this business serving the Phoenix area for so many years, it's not even speakable. It's something that she does every single day. She lives and loves her clients to make sure, from the first-time home buyer to the jumbo buyer, that they get taken care of with concierge service that is matched by no other. Linda, I appreciate you coming on today, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this. It's something that's important to me, and I appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you as well.
So we met a short period of time ago, and I want to say that was February of 2018.
Yes, it was. It's just been 90 days, Johnny.
And it was an absolute whirlwind. I think if I remember correctly, I was introduced to you while I was on my way back from California. We spoke when I was in the Denver airport.
Yeah.
I believe, if I remember correctly, we flew you down to Florida the next week. You sat inside of one of our trainings to see what we were about and to see if what you were told was real. You want to tell the story from there?
Well, you'd asked me to come out and just see what you were all about. And Greg Peckman is a loan officer with Hancock that I've known for years. And when you said you're flying out to help him with his modern marketing class, I was quite intrigued. But the real fun part of the story, Johnny, comes in that, my plane was late because whenever I go to Florida, my plane's late, right? So I had no sleep, and you picked me up, and there was all these people in the car. We went to this event, and I assumed I was sitting with a bunch of loan officers. And it wasn't until we were at the happy hour that night that I realized I was sitting with a bunch of real estate agents who'd flown from Tennessee to Florida just to be there because they like Greg. And through the interactions of the modern marketing class, the happy hour that night, the lunch the next day, I was pretty impressed. We had some good talks in between the two. And then it was that final lunch, and I don't think I ever shared this with you, that we had at the Golden Lion, was it?
Okay.
Things that were like this.
Yes, ma'am.
Jordan was sitting there, and you'd ask Jordan, what more can we else do to help you? And Jordan, from the bottom of his heart, honestly said to you, Johnny, a bunch of the realtors and I were speaking last night, and we'd like you to teach us how to sell Hancock. Because you've given so much to us, we want to learn how to give back. And that is not something I've ever heard in 30 years of doing mortgages. A real estate agent asking how they can give back to the company that's helped them with their success. So right there is where you had me.
That's awesome. I had forgotten about that. And that was a great lunch. It was one of those outside, inside kind of places. Matter of fact, I think there was a few. And when you say Jordan, you're referring to Jordan Farrell, who is one of the top, beyond top real estate agents in the Flagler Beach area. And that was a great lunch. And you know what? I had forgotten about that. I'm so glad you brought that memory up because it was a great day.
It was really amazing to me to actually see a group of realtors who want to learn how to give back to a mortgage company. It really spoke what we've all worked for years, is this idea that we could be partners and equals and provide value to each other. But as a loan officer, we're typically always chasing the tail. Great rates and good service.
Well, this is a typical Linda moment because, I guess I've taken that for granted. I've never really thought about it, about the real estate agent. It's just, I guess, normal. And for you being an outsider looking in, and then relaying that information back, because it's something I wouldn't think about, because that's just what we do. We do everything we can to help our referral partners to make it a greater industry, to make it a greater business, and make it better for the home buyer experience. And I guess I never really pay attention to the fact that our referral partners are so kind and help us as much as we help them.
It's unique in the business. Up until now, I've never really feel I had anything more than, the hope that I did a good job. Great rates and good service, those are expected. That's my job. The communication and the camaraderie, though, the really growing business together is what's really, it's the hook that got me really interested to begin with. However, it's the reality that I am learning to experience. Now, transitioning into a new company where I am the loan, and you could put LONE instead of LOAN, loan officer in Arizona, and to have the faith, but between, meeting you in Florida and, quite frankly, Brian's absolute dying love for you as a person, Johnny, but as Hancock as a whole. And Brian has the opportunity in his position to meet with all the real estate companies in the country, all of the lenders, and talk at a very high level with high producers, low producers, everybody in between. And he really, really loves Hancock. And I kept asking him why. And he said, it's the way that Johnny loves and supports his loan officers. And I'm getting it. 90 days into a new company is usually about the time that I'm pulling my hair out and crying and realizing I really don't know how to originate a loan. But the processing team, the underwriting team, they are so solution oriented, and the training that my partner got coming in, Lisa, she's sitting in the other room. That's why I'm in here with the ISIS room, because there's too much activity going on in that room for me to be there with her, because there's a lot of noise going on. So I took a quiet office to have a talk with you today. They don't have me hostage, really. But it's true. It's happening. It's true. And I have the confidence to go out there and really approach the real estate agents knowing that they are going to enjoy working and creating these leads and working together. It's true, and it's happening, and it's great.
We follow through with what we say we're going to do.
You're following through with what you're going to say to. Now, we're working on mortgage loans. They're not always perfect. And in my last 10 years since Dodd-Frank, pretty much anytime something comes up on a loan that you can't see at the beginning, it comes up inside of a tax return or in the property or something comes up, and they always come back and say, bad loan officer, why didn't you see it? Well, not here. I don't even know there's a problem. They got it solved. Well, here's the problem you had, but here's our solution already taken care of. And I've learned in just 3 months to just let go, get out of the way, and go do my marketing and meet the realtors and do what I'm supposed to be doing.
Agree. And that's honestly what we all got in this business to do. We enjoy bringing in the business. We enjoy talking with people. We enjoy helping that first-time home buyer, the downsizing buyer, whatever that is. What we don't enjoy is all of the minutia that a lot of these companies have put on us as originators to do, and they make a business that doesn't need to be as difficult, the most difficult thing there is. Now, I will tell you that regulations are a pain in the ass. It appears that we're in a more common sense era now than we have been, but never have I ever heard a regulator say, you know what, we're just too damn hard on those people. Let's make it easy. So, it's up to the company to make it better. Let's dive into some of these questions if you're ready.
All righty, I'm ready.
Now, I know the answer to this one, or at least I think I do, and I know it from my perspective, but from your perspective, and I'm going to add to it if you don't give me everything I want.
Uh-oh.
What makes Linda stand out from all the other loan officers?
I truly care. I do believe it's from here. I know that buying a home, whether you're moving up, moving down, buying your first home, it is one of the largest financial decisions of your life. It's scary. You're uprooting your family. And people don't like to not be informed and smart. And I meet the client wherever it is that they are, if they've never bought a house or if they're a highly sophisticated investor, and take them from there and pay attention to what their needs are, not mine. I know what loan they need at hello, pretty much. But I want to help them understand the whole process, all the choices they have in the long term and short term, because it's not just about a monthly payment and cash to close. There's a lot more to a 30-year loan.
Agree.
And I really do care. And then another thing that I really embrace here is we do a lot of work through Facebook, and I've always loved to friend my clients in Facebook and follow them. I've been in this business long enough. I'm watching people's children graduate college now and buy homes that I was the loan officer of their first house. And it's dating me, but that's even more rewarding. It's kind of like being a grandma, right? Kids are great, but grandkids are better. And that client at the beginning is great, but all the referrals and get to know the family and see the kids grow up and know where they're going to college and what sports they're playing. It's just awesome.
I agree, and that's actually the answer that I wanted. That's the Linda that I know. That's the Linda that cares truly and deeply about every single one of her clients and their family and the longevity and the property. That's exactly what I was looking for, and I couldn't have answered it better. I couldn't have asked you to answer it better.
Thanks, but it's true. And with Hancock and the support that I've got now, I'm really having fun because I have more time to focus on what my clients are saying and pay attention to those posts on Facebook. And I could get on the phone and say, "Hey, guess what? Johnny won the baseball game with that home run, didn't he?" And it's just a fun conversation starter.
Agree. So we're sitting in your 90th, 100th day here, and this question may be a little premature, but I think you've been able to see enough and be baptized in it enough to see. So what technology do you love using here at Hancock Mortgage Partners?
The things that I love the most are Listing Booster, and combine that with the MBS Highway, which I'm still learning that, and the Usurpa CRM and how everything works together. The Listing Booster, I just love it because social media is where I go to do marketing and help my real estate agents, and the interactions and more people that I'm meeting are great. I really, really like the professional tools in the MBS Highway that help my real estate agents. The cost of waiting is a great one right now, that report. And I always need something to remind me what I'm doing the busier I get, and Usurpa seems to be, as long as I tell it what I need to do, it's going to tell me what I need to do. So we're becoming friends.
Well, that's actually three of my favorite pieces of technology. We are huge supporters of Listing Booster. Besides the fact that our good friends Frank, Brian, and Kevin own it, it is one of the most valuable tools for the smallest amount of money that there is in the country. I really get a kick out of it. On I believe it was yesterday's National Real Estate Post, I saw that Brian was being somewhat of his smart aleck self and said something about, Frank, we have a problem. It appears that Greg Peckman has only gotten 17,800 leads in a year off of Listing Booster. And as he goes through and he's naming off a number of the Hancock people, I thought that was hilarious. You said the other one, MBS Highway. Barry Habib is a great fan and friend of this company's. We are huge fans of Barry, and we use all of his systems, everything that he has inside of MBS Highway. And one of the things that I adore about being here is he is one phone call away from not only helping me, but anybody else in this company. He tries to help us more than they could ever be expected. As far as Media Center Usurpa, it's funny you said that yesterday. Paul Harrington, the Harrington family owns the system. Paul was here in the office yesterday. He came down from Denver just to spend 30 minutes with us to see how we were doing and tell us that he appreciated us. So I am in complete agreement with you. That's three of the greatest systems on top of what we've built and what we have ourselves. And it does my heart good to know that you love those systems.
Yes, I do. And implementing them, I tell myself I'm technology challenged, but I'm not really that much. And there's such great support. When I get stuck, somebody's going to point me in the right direction. I don't stay stuck more than a few seconds with Hancock. There's always somebody out there and I'll give them job security rather than struggle for an hour trying to fix something or figure it out because I know I can. I just ask the question, the support's right there, and I'm moving on in 2 minutes.
That's one of the things that I try and instill here. I was told a long time ago by a place that I stayed at for about a decade, and it rang true then and it rings true today. This man would stand up in front of 3,000, 3,500 loan officers, and he would tell everybody, if you call Johnny and he can't call you back within 2 hours, let me know because I'll find somebody else who can. And I preach the same thing here. Luckily, it doesn't have to be repeated because that's the way everybody here is. And if you're not that way, if you're not customer service oriented and you don't want to help your fellow coworkers, you won't last here very long. A branch won't last here very long. A support staff won't last very long.
It's interesting because in my first few weeks here, one of the processors that I was using reached right out and made friends with a friend of mine or a client of ours on Facebook. And I kind of like to spearhead this information. It was a rough deal, and it was not one that I wanted to just hand over and let go because it's going to beat a processor up a little bit. And she came back and basically smacked my hands and said, he's my client too. And I backed right off, and that very complex loan closed last week.
Awesome.
With none of my help.
So you've got, theoretically, you've got a quarter of the year in with Hancock. What changes are, now that you've been here, what changes from the past 30 years in business are you going to incorporate in your business in this next quarter to help your customers and get more business?
My customer is a real estate agent. The buyer, the borrower is a byproduct of that relationship. So I can truly help my customers, my realtors, build their business. Sit down with them, show them how, the modern marketing class that you came out to teach here in Phoenix with Brian, how your edge rank and everything works in Facebook, how you can get in Facebook jail, because most people are putting themselves in jail not knowing they're doing this, and how to increase your exposure in the leads that are being created through, now I can't even think of how it.
Hot Homes?
What's it?
Hot Homes of?
The perpetual machine.
Okay.
That. They're coming in, they're good. They're coming with good telephone numbers. The borrowers are interacting with us. And we know that cycle of time, and my pipe's just building and building. So I've got one of my favorite realtors, John, who you also met, and he's out there recruiting other realtors to come on and check out what we're doing. And it's awesome because there's enough business for everybody. There's not a scarcity of business. And I love the support I'm getting from realtors that are actually realizing how I can help them with the tools that we have here. So my next quarter is going to be purely focused on working with my real estate agents and training them to use the tools that we've got to create leads that will work together.
When you refer to John, are you referring to John Hegrenus?
Hegrenus, yes.
I had the pleasure of meeting him when we were out there in Phoenix and I guess the Scottsdale area.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely adore that guy. He is so on the ball. He cares about his clients. He cares about his referral partners. He cares about his business, which is different from a lot of people. A lot of people only care about their day. He cares about his business. I was really impressed with him. I enjoy him, and he's one of anything that we can ever do to help him is something that I want to be part of.
Well, and just to share a success story with John, he had not closed that much this year, and as of today, right here, through some joint efforts, he has 11 deals in escrow right now.
I'm sorry, we must have blinked out or something, because I swear to God, I was in Phoenix a month and a week ago, and you said 11 deals?
11 deals in escrow.
So in a joint effort between John and you, working together with Hancock and his real estate company, we've been able to put 11 deals in his escrow.
Yep. Which he shared with me at our Tuesday morning this week, that if all of those close right now, and it's June, he's too short of his annual goal that he set for himself this year. But I told him we're not going to sit on his laurels. We're going to double that annual goal.
Agree. My favorite thing to tell real estate agents is I want you to be so mad at me on April 15th because of the size of the check you have to write to the IRS. I want you to be pissed off at me.
That would be a really good problem to have.
So here's something. I know what it is. It may be a little redundant from your answer earlier, but I want you to dive a little deep into this one.
Okay.
What do you love most about being a loan officer?
People. I love people. I like getting to know them again, the families and the generational and everything, but I'm a people person. And when I'm meeting new people and providing value to people and expanding my sphere of just more people I can know, it's amazing. I moved to Phoenix about 17 and a half years ago from where Frank and Brian are from the Northern California area. Didn't know a soul. And I feel very established here. And I just keep meeting more and more great people. And I think that's what I just love the most.
I agree. There's very few businesses that I think that you can meet, interact, and keep those relationships for a lifetime other than this business. It is an industry, but it is a industry in all its own.
It is. And, I'm finding, especially post, Dodd-Frank meltdown and Arizona got hit hard, that buyers are still scared. They're still frightened. They're frightened now because we're maybe at the top of the market. They're frightened because rates went up. They're just frightened. And I love being able to use my 30 years of experience to kind of calm them down and let them know this is the best decision. Now, there was a few years there when people came to me and they wanted to buy homes, and I just said it wasn't the right time. Those values were trash. Yeah, my income didn't do too well then either, but it was the right thing to do. And doing the right thing for people over time just pays off.
This is almost off subject, but you just said something that reminded me of this. One of the things that I do as in my travels, I travel about 40 weeks a year. And in my travels, I talk and I interview people without it being a recorded interview to find out what's going on in their life, what's going on in the world outside of my little bubble. And one of the things that I did is I remember interviewing some college students, and I interviewed one that was really, really absolutely intelligent. And when we were talking about it, one of the things that he was telling us, and it made us think, and we started asking this question to some of our first-time home buyers, is, what do you think about the mortgage industry? What do you think about the mortgage business? What do you think? And he gave me some answers that really set me back. One of them was his parents had just come through the crash, being homeowners, and never once did he ever hear anything positive that the word mortgage was associated with. So it was that GD mortgage, that effing mortgage, whatever it was. And then he also said, every time he turned on the news, or his parents turned on the news, that it was just horrible information coming from the media about brokers, about the mortgage companies, things like that. And then as I talk to more people about that, I find out from today's first-time home buyer, who I think the average age is between 27 and 33 or something like that. If you think about it, if it's 27 to 33, then they were somewhere between 17 and 33 when the meltdown was happening. So this has got to be a horribly scary thing for them after what they've come through. Not what we've come through, but what they've come through, what they were told. And I think that having someone like you with not only your outlook, but the way you work with people, but also that motherly family atmosphere that you put people in. What a better place, and I know that's probably going to stick you, but what a better place to put a 27 to 33-year-old, even 27 to 40-year-old that's buying their first house, buying a move-up house, with someone like you who's not only lived it, but knows what they went through.
Yeah, and I find very often that these young people that are buying homes now are thinking about it, raising their hand and saying they're interested. They grew up watching real estate devastate their families. In the Phoenix area, our main business is growth. And so when the meltdown happened, construction stopped. And jobs, I mean, yeah, our mortgage jobs and real estate jobs were rough, but it filtered down hard. And a lot of people had to make hard decisions. And this humiliated Dad. I mean, Dad's worked his whole entire life to buy a home for the family, and then employment goes away and this and that. And that dang mortgage is what they blame, but it wasn't the mortgage. It was the fact that it was the employment, it was the economy, it's all these different things, and getting clear between them and removing that fear moving forward. And one of the best lines I use with those young people now is there ever a landlord during that whole meltdown that picked up the phone and called a tenant and said, hey, my value just went down 100 grand. Can I lower your rent? The answer to that's no. The only way to fix these expenses is to have a mortgage and to fix your housing expenses so that that stays the same as you go through life. Your income should continue to increase so that mortgage payment becomes less of a burden.
One thing I do want to hit on is it wasn't the mortgage industry, it wasn't the mortgage business, it was Wall Street, and I will say that till the day I'm dead. It was not only Wall Street, it was the insuring companies on those tranches, and nobody will ever convince me of anything else because I never met one mortgage broker that ever underwrote a file or funded a file. What they did is they actually fulfilled what somebody from Wall Street told them to do.
Absolutely. I was actually in an airplane on the way home from one of the Mortgage Rev events back in, I think, 2010, when I was reading the book that it was later made into a movie about the big meltdown. And I was unconscious of what was going on around me, but I was so angry when I read it. I was screaming at the book in the middle of the airplane and didn't even realize it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm like, they knew! No! And I didn't. I just knew it wasn't good for our industry.
Switching gears, this is something that I know you're good at, and in the past 100 days that we've been able to make our friendship, I know this is something that you love and that you're really good at it. You've got that mentor personality above and beyond. So tell me, do you have any advice or tips to help any loan officers out in this business right now? Your local market, in other markets in the country. What piece of advice would you give them?
Loan officers, that you need to deepen the relationships with your real estate agents and actually have a symbiotic relationship of not expecting the realtor to feed you, but going both ways. That's the only way we're going to stay on a level playing field and earn the loyalty and respect of each other. And communication is key in that too. So good news, bad news, I don't care what it is. If you need to share that information, you get it off your chest right away. Get the whole team enrolled in solutions versus you owning a problem. And I know myself, I'll do that in the past. I know a lot of loan officers do. They agonize over how to solve a problem, but if you involve the whole group in what the problem is, the solution is much more likely to come. So open communication and just being of value to your people.
So you and I have been in the business for about the same amount of time. Please tell me that I'm not the only one this happened to. The first company you went to work for, did they tell you to go meet realtors and bring home loans?
The first company in mortgage I worked for, I owned.
Okay.
I wasn't even sure there was two mortgagees and mortgages. I'm an accountant, and some stuff went down, and I could see my job was coming to the end with this real estate developer. I've been working in his office, and somehow or another, through a series of events, I wound up with a mortgage company, and I didn't know what to do with it. It was running out of a single 20-something-year-old girl in Northern California, and I have a mortgage company. So the first thing that I did was I signed up for a Joe Stump event and went out to Phoenix, to the Wigwam, and learned about mortgages and sales. And then I sent my sales staff to it, and many of those people are still thriving in the business, doing very, very well.
You just touched on something that I know about you that's not even a part of this interview, but I know you are continually educating yourself. You're continually going to events. You're continually signing up. So one of the things that drives me insane is the loan officers, the people in this industry that don't educate themselves, that for some reason think that they don't need a coach, they don't need a mentor, they don't need any outside help, that they think that they're Michael Jordan all by themselves.
Michael Jordan wasn't Michael Jordan without coaching. If there wasn't somebody driving him on top of his drive and keeping him focused, he would never have been who he became. And yes, you cannot learn enough in this business. I cannot educate myself enough. When I first moved to Arizona from California, loan officers did not need a license. I was appalled. I was shocked. And so I was on the committee and got involved in my local association. We pushed. I wanted licensing. And when licensing came through, I was really excited. So the first thing I did with that was I signed up to teach loan officers courses. And so I did that for 4 or 5 years. And Hancock's makes us take lots of courses, and our licensing makes us take lots of courses. And then those are usually the regulatory stuff. But to get better at sales, to get better at mindset, better at being a human being, I cannot get enough of that. I will always keep myself educated and learning new things.
Agree. We're on the same exact page with that one. Now, this question is one that I hate, and I say this in every interview. I actually wanted to pull this question out, and your colleagues, who are actually good friends of yours now, made it mandatory that I leave this in. I find this question very self-fulfilling, and I don't like it, but here goes. What do you love about working at Hancock Mortgage Partners?
The very last word you just said sums it all up. We are partners. It's not Hancock Mortgage LLC. It's not Hancock Mortgage Company. Partners says it right there. I am a partner of yours, my processor, my underwriter, the ops manager. Everybody here operates as a partner with one goal in mind, closing that loan on time.
You probably don't know this, but you just hit the nail on the head. That's the exact 100%, no deviation. That's the reason why Myatt Hancock named it Hancock Mortgage Partners, because everybody in the process is a partner regardless. And that's the reason why the name Partners is in there, and it's not just Hancock Mortgage or something along those lines. That's the 100%, and you're one of the first people who's ever realized that.
Oh, I absolutely, every time I say the word or read the word, it rings home. And a good example, a couple nights ago, we had a closing that's going to happen on Friday, very complex deal. We're to the 9th hour, got to have that CD out. The conditions were rough, getting them cleared and all collected right. We got it done. And the gal that runs the CDs gave me a call because she didn't understand something that was a little bit different about Arizona than other states. And she was telling me she thought we had a cost to cure, and I'm telling her, no, we don't. Conference the title company right in. We talked right through it. We got to the bottom of it, and everything was great. Now, that was at 5 o'clock Arizona time. That doctor is in Texas, so that's 7 o'clock her time. I said, are we keeping you late? She goes, your CD has to go out tonight. So do your docs. No, that's my job. Now, previously, that might be, you can't work overtime. Nobody's doing that. But the goal is to close that loan on time, and that happens.
Agree. And that's one of the greatest things, if it's got to be done on Saturday, we're doing it on Saturday. There are many times that I personally have driven to a borrower's home to get documents for one of the branches. People getting on. It's who we are. It's ingrained in us. And
there's not any job that's below anybody here. It's not like, well, I'm a manager. I don't collect documents.
Agree.
I'm a partner. If that's what we take, that's what it takes to get it done. That's what we go do.
What is one obstacle that you've had to overcome as a loan officer?
Well, I'll give you two, but the biggest one is I didn't think I know how to sell. I am an accountant in my brain. I like things to work and everything to be organized and scheduled. Sales was a skill I had to learn. And I told myself for years that it was hard. And I got the assistance to some coaching and into some groups with some other loan officers who thought that doing loans were hard and the sales were easy. And I just always tell myself, well, that little Yahoo does it well, and I'm smarter than him. So learning how to sell and owning the fact that I'm a salesperson, that's the hardest obstacle I've had to overcome.
Now, one thing that's going to be funny when you're watching this video that you're going to laugh at is you're watching Linda's body language. And if that doesn't say she's a salesperson, I don't know what in the world does. She is not an accountant. I don't care what she thinks and what she says. She is a salesperson, period.
I got over it.
Now, here's one that I always get a kick out of, because there's not anybody that's in this business that I've ever asked this question to, and they've answered it the way that the world thinks that they would. Did you always want to be a mortgage loan officer? If so, why? If no, what were you pursuing before this?
Well, when I graduated from high school, I lived in a little town in Idaho called Idaho Falls, Idaho. They put us through these aptitude tests, and they said you should be an interior designer. Well, interior design in Idaho Falls, Idaho in the 70s was a garage sale. I wasn't going to make a living doing that. So when I went ready to go to college, I got all ready to go, and I was going into architect school. So I was going to be an architect. That's what I was going to do. And then I had government funding. The architect teacher quit the week before school started. They said, here's your choices. You can be a dental hygienist, a nuclear engineer, or an accountant. I took accounting. And I can still hear the fights I had with my father about math when I was in second grade. But anyhow, I'm good at it.
So you're telling me we were this close to you being a nuclear engineer?
No.
Damn it.
No. They have to wear funky clothes and work weird hours. So, no, wait a minute. I work weird hours, but they're...
Yes.
And I wear funky clothes, but I get to choose.
Last question. And this is the one that is my Bryant Gumbel moment, where I try and catch you off guard. And I try and let the world know the Linda Hall that I know and that I've been blessed to friend and not only call colleague, but call somebody who is a close, dear friend of mine. I had the benefit of meeting a guy named Scott and a little dude that lives in your house. And I got to see how your face lit up when they walked in the room when you made dinner for us that night. Tell me about what keeps you going and your family.
I love my family. Growing up, I was not going to have any children. I was the girl that said no children. For my 21st birthday, I had my first child. I'm 56 years old this year. The little guy, Bryson, by birth is my grandson. By the grace of God is my child to raise. I adopted him. I will have had a child under the age of 18 in my house for 43 consecutive years by the time he graduates high school. And it's been my experience that doesn't mean they're moving out. High school graduation does not indicate that at all. So it'll be about 50 years by the time I'm done with it. But they're my why. Spending time with my family in nature is my absolute why, or cooking. I took a couple years off of mortgage back in 2001, 2002, and went to culinary school, which was a dream of mine. And now I can make food behave every single time very, very well. So I can cook, and that's my form of love. And I love my family, and I love my friends. You'll know, I was having you out for dinner, and I said, you got to tell me your favorite dinner, because that's what I'm cooking. And I love seeing instant joy, which is food, long-term joy, which is a mortgage, but the family and the why, it's just so amazing. And through this wonderful career I have, I'm able to support my family in a way that my husband gets to pursue his passion and his dream, which is the high-end woodworking, which is a hit and miss business, but it's what he loves. And he gets to be there to take Bryson to and from school and Boy Scouts and all those great things. And it's kind of a reverse role from what tradition says it should be, but I don't care. I love what I do for a living. I love my family. I love being able to support them in this way. And I love all the people I get to meet. So it just makes me happy. I'm a people person.
I absolutely adored watching Scott work the room when we had 110, 120, 130 agents at that one event. And not only work the room and so funny and so engaging, but from the outside looking in, so supportive of you and what you did and right there helping. And I don't know if you know this or not, but sometimes you can be a challenge. Yes. And watching Scott roll with it, and just right there, it was something that it was really cool for me to be able to see.
Yeah, well, it's a strange. Sometimes we look at each other and go, "How we wind up together? We're two opposite peas," but the symbiotic relationship, the trust between us is amazing, and that's what it all boils down to. You know, and he wants me to be successful. He knows where my happy spot is, and for him to really own the fact that it's okay for me to be working a room, and I live in a highly male world, so I'm interacting with men all the time, but he doesn't see it that way. He just sees me out there working and having a good time doing it, and he'll support me in any way that he can.
I want to thank you very much for doing this interview with me. It's something that needs to be shown. It's something that people need to know about you, and it's something that helps me, makes me better every single day, getting to work with people like you. So I want you to know how much I appreciate you, how much I appreciate you doing this interview with me. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, please let me know.
Oh, I absolutely will, Johnny. You know it. But thank you very much. I've enjoyed this, and the opportunity at Hancock is amazing. I'm so happy to be here, and I can't wait to expand the presence in Arizona and share what Hancock does with some more loan officers.
Like I told you before, you know who's a freaking awesome loan officer? Linda Hall is a freaking awesome loan officer. If you're anywhere in Arizona, anywhere in the Phoenix area, reach out. You owe it to yourself to even just talk to Linda Hall. You don't have to buy a house. You don't have to get a mortgage. Just reach out and talk to Linda Hall. Thank you.